If it were me in his shoes, I'm sure I'd be worried sick about my parents too. There's nothing wrong with worrying about your parents. I'm sure they're proud to have a son who cares so much.
But
what? Something was still on his mind.
I always wanted to be a great doctor, just like my mom and dad. But after my mom collapsed, I started thinking maybe everybody else was just using them.
Along the way, he'd stopped being able to trust the people of Folka, and he thought feeling that way meant he could never follow in his parents' footsteps. Lev stared at the ground as he spoke, finally confiding his troubles to me. After hearing his story, I began to open up about my own parents. He listened to my words in silence. My parents had also strained themselves too hard after getting sick, and eventually passed away. So Lev's circumstances were all too familiar. Just like him, I felt nothing but bitterness and despair. There was one difference. I've got to admit, I envy you a little. After all, your mom and dad are still alive and well. While we were standing there talking, Lev's parents and the villagers were probably beside themselves with worry, braving the dangers of the forest to search for him. When I told him that, Lev finally seemed to grasp the situation.
I really messed up, didn't I? I'm sorry.
Are you sure I'm the person you should be saying that to? I stood up and smiled at Lev. He and his family all seemed like really good people. The only thing they needed to patch their home back together was a long heart-to-heart.